Hi, folks. Welcome back to my channel. So, I know I haven't finished up that house thing yet, but I wanted to take a pause to go back to my original desire, my passion. And because I've been having a conversation with a very close friend of mine who has also transitioned to Mexico. And it drove me to my computer and to want to talk to you for a few minutes because she's having the exact same experience that I'm having and the doubts that I'm having about this particular topic. And I thought I would share it with you. Now, before I go on, I want to make it very clear. I am not a medical expert. I'm not giving you suggestions. I'm not even telling you how to think when it comes to the topic that I'm presenting. I just want to offer my experience, my friend's experience, and to give you some food for thought. Okay, so for those who are new to my channel, my name is Heather. And I have this channel because I want to convince, not convince, that's ridiculous. You can't convince people anything. I want to give an example to people who have illnesses that they can go out into the world and thrive elsewhere. You can find your path. And I'm not just talking critical illnesses. If you go somewhere, you have to go to the dentist. You might have to go to a doctor for whatever, blood pressure, cholesterol, whatever, right? That is what I want to share my thoughts on tonight. If you find any of this helpful, please, or if you have constructive feedback, it doesn't have to be shiny and positive, please put it in the comments because it helps other people think about their process as well. Give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down. It lets me know if I'm on the right path. It lets YouTube know that as well. But okay, so again, I'm not a medical expert. These are my experiences, okay? So I wrote something down because I wanted to get it clear. Normally I just speak from the heart, but I wanted to get this right. So I actually wrote it down after the conversation with my friend. And what I wrote down is to thrive in Mexico requires more than choosing a location and learning Spanish. In my opinion, it requires an adjustment to your eyes, the way you see things. It requires an adjustment to your brain, the way you think about things. And perhaps the most difficult of all, it requires an adjustment to your instincts, your gut, that thing that drives you to take a specific action or to avoid a specific action. So this can be an extremely difficult process, especially when you consider placing your health, your medical care, into a system that often contradicts what you have been taught to expect in the US. You have to understand that you're somewhere different. And sometimes it's really difficult, especially with your health. It's really difficult to trust a system that you don't know and you can't predict the outcome. It's scary. So it was really interesting because my friend and I were going through the exact same things in the last 2 weeks. So I will start and let me make it clear. I am not slamming any system or any group of doctors. I'm just pointing out the differences and the thoughts that you may go through and the doubt that you may go through because I'm an average person. My friend is a regular person. And if we're feeling the same thing, it's possible that you might be feeling that way as well. So here are the two things we talked about today. First, we talked about dental, and then we talked about medical. And I'm not going to give you the same story, yeah, things are different, da, da, da. I'm not going to give you that. What I'm going to talk about is the question, things are so different here. Are they incompetent here? Were they incompetent in the States? How do I make a decision that gives me the best outcomes? So I'm going to give you these examples, and you can decide what you want to do with this information. So we started with, I'll give you my example for dental. So right before I left the States, I went to my dentist. Really expensive, as you well know. Medical procedures, dental procedures in the States are crazy expensive. You walk in, they make sure your insurance can pay for it, and then you still have to pay a huge amount, right? So they're going through and they break out this fancy equipment, and they looked at my teeth that made my teeth look 10 times worse than they actually are. And the dentist said, you know what? You have a tooth that is cracking because you have an old filling that is expanding and damaging the tooth. You need a root canal. You need me to take out that filling, a root canal, and a cap. And it's like, okay, so we know that's like a $1,500 procedure in the States. That's what he told me. He said there was no other way around it, right? So it's like, well, okay, I'm moving to Mexico in a few months. I know that folks travel to Mexico for dental and medical, we'll get back to that, tourism. So I am going to, when I get here, go to a dentist and see and get the work done. Because I've been taught to believe the professionals in the States all my life. And you're probably the same way. Not going to give away well, I'm 59. So decades and decades of believing the system there and the way of doing business there. Again, I'm not saying one is right or one is wrong. So I come to the dentist here and I tell him what my dentist in the States said. I said, I need to get this fixed because I don't want to ruin my tooth. Let's just take a look and let's just get it done. I was ready for the whole thing, right? So he looked and he said, you don't need a root canal. You don't need a cap. There are other processes we can do that are short of doing that. He said, I am going to double check. Folks, he took an x-ray of that particular tooth, not a full set. And my friend, on that point, little squirrel moment here, my friend suggested that because of the way they do medical and dental care here, they focus on the problem at hand, right? They're not focusing on what might happen a year down the line. So they took an x-ray of that particular tooth and he said, okay, here's the plan. It is possible that you might need the removal and the root canal and the cap, and this is the cost. Way cheaper than the US, but this is the cost. Okay. But let me take this path. I'm going to clean out that tooth. I'm going to see what's there. And if you need a root canal, I'll tell you. But if you don't, I'm going to line your tooth and send you home. Let me know how that feels. If it doesn't hurt, I'm going to bring you back in and I'm going to make a mold of what is there, the opening that's there. And I'm going to give you this thing at the top of your tooth is not a cap and you'll be done. I was like, I don't need a root canal? And the question pops up, why did my dentist in the States tell me, without even looking, that I need all these steps? And he laughed and he said, yeah, my American and Canadians clients tell me they all say the same thing. The dentist in those locations immediately take you all the way up here. You need the most drastic procedure. I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm saying it's different. And the mental struggle is, who is correct? Who's correct? If I make this decision, am I endangering myself for later on? And that took a lot of struggle. So I have let it go to the universe, let it go to your higher power. And I decided to let this process go because so far I've got no pain, it's working, and my tooth is being fixed. For a third of the price is what my, not even a third, oh my God, no, a sixth of the price of what my American dentist quoted. So let's move on to the medical piece. It doesn't matter if it's, oh, by the way, hop back to the dentist a little bit. Everyone's going to need dental care, so I wanted to mention that bit. It doesn't matter if it is something straightforward like managing your blood pressure, or you fall and you have to go to a doctor. The system here is very different. In my opinion, they take a holistic approach and they don't do a one size fits all as was happening to me in the States. They say, I'm going to look at your needs and I'm going to make a plan that fits you. Now, folks, that's really scary. It may not be the case for you, but for me, it's a life and death decision, right? So let me explain. I'm not going to give you the details, but I will tell you, I'll give you some of the details. So I go to my nephrologist, and for the past 20 years, I've been told, no, you don't need to change your diet. Everything is fine. Eat what you want, you're fine. And I've got this medical condition, right? Are you sure I don't need to change my diet? No, just go ahead. I come here, and my PCM says, okay, I'm going to build a team for you of your nephrologist and your rheumatologist, and you're going to go see them next week. And I did. Thank goodness I did, right? I get to my nephrologist, and he says, yeah, first of all, this man explained what was going on in my body in such a way that I had never heard before. He said, doctors in the States, they give you this overarching thing, but they don't give you the details. Things aren't functioning at 100%. For me, it's way less than 100%. But things are functioning, and they're functioning slowly. So we don't have to immediately go to the worst case scenario. I'm going to look at what's going on with you. I'm going to continue testing. I'm going to give you a different treatment, and I'm going to continue testing. And if the worst case scenario is necessary, we'll do that then. It makes you sit back in your chair. It makes me sit back in my chair because I'm thinking, this is my health. This is my life. Am I going to trust a system that I don't understand? But because I looked this man in his eyes and he gave me a holistic approach, he's taking a holistic approach. He's looking at me as an individual. And so far, things are working. And then I compared it to my excellent doctors in the States, but are trapped in a system that allows them to give me 10 minutes or 15 at best, but usually 10 minutes with the exact same conditions. They don't have time to look at me as a human being, as a whole person. They have time to give me the one-size-fits-all treatment and say, come to me when I have to give you the extreme treatment. They don't give you, let's slow down that process, right? So because of that, and I don't know what the outcomes are going to be. I have to definitely release that because for me, for you, it may be, okay, I need to change my medication, but for me, the outcome is life or death. I'm not being dramatic, it's just the truth. I've had many years to think about it, so I understand that. But my friend, and this is much more common, she is managing, I hope she doesn't mind me telling you, blood pressure, right? And she's told in the States, you need this medication, you need it now, we need to put you on medication that once you're on it for life. You know, the numbers that are reading on your blood pressure, you have to go on the numbers, right? You have to go on medication right now, Her doctor here looked at her after hearing this for years. Her doctor here looked at her and said, yeah, they're a little bit elevated, but no, I'm not too concerned. Why don't you try this, and this, and then we'll take a look at it. And she said, Heather, I don't know if I can trust this. This is my health. And I was smiling. She couldn't see because we were on the phone. I was smiling because for my blood pressure, I saw 3 specialists in Italy and at least 4 or 5 specialists in Germany when I lived there, and they all said the exact same thing, that the way of doing things in the States is to give you medication and wait until things are so bad that you need the drastic approach. They took a step by step. Let's see what's happening. Let's make a plan for your body. Again, folks, this may not apply to you. This is food for thought. But as I stated at the beginning, it requires thriving in a system that you don't know and putting your trust in a medical system that you don't know is terrifying. It goes against your lizard brain that is, telling you you need to survive, you need to survive. So you have to consider what you're willing to accept. You can stay with what you've been taught, and that's fine. That works for you. Or you can try to consider that maybe there's a different way of doing things. Consider that people come here for medical tourism. Consider the holistic approach that you will probably experience and the detail of information you'll be given, and decide what you can tolerate, what trust you can give. Because you don't know the outcomes in the States, you don't know the outcomes here. Personally, I have decided to go with what my gut is starting to see, which is to trust the people that are saying, I see you as a human being. So, folks, that's all that I have to share with you tonight. I'm not a medical expert. I'm saying it for the third time because I can't give you medical advice. I'm giving you my friend's experience and my experience. And this video, like every video that deals with self-care, I want to ask you, how do you want to spend your health? So that's it. I hope you will have a great night and continue to take care of yourself and going bravely into the world. Good night.